Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Esther Pedersen, and welcome to the first episode of What the Floss?
Go floss, 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 floss.
This is our first podcast today, and I was thinking about a few different things that I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to share some ideas with you that would be good for people that are dental professionals, good for people that aren't dental professionals. If you have teeth, if you don't have teeth, then I want this podcast to be for you. I want to give you some real life applications if you're not in the dental world. I'll give you some real life applications about what goes into dentistry, what stuff costs, what materials that we use, and all that. If you are a dental professional, I got a whole bunch of letters behind my name, which I don't know if that really means anything, but in the real world, I guess it means that I got a whole lot of knowledge that I'd love to share with you as well. So when it comes to dentistry, that's my passion. That's what I do. So here we go. So I was talking with a few friends of mine, and they were asking me, why is stuff in dentistry so expensive, right? When you go to the grocery store, you see that groceries have risen through the roof. I was complaining actually this morning that I went to Price Chopper, and when I picked up a bag of just Tostitos corn chips, it was $6 for a bag. And, I'm going to make myself sound really old, but I remember back in the day when corn chips used to be like $2.49 a bag, right? Like Price is Right prices was $2.49 a bag. Now it's up over $6. And so you can imagine when just normal corn chips go up to be that expensive, you would expect that something that was already expensive back in the day, like dental stuff, is also going to go up in price. But let me share a little bit of insight as to where that pricing is coming from, why things are so expensive. When I started my dental office back in 2011, so I've been working here 13 and a half years, and I started Love to Smile Dentistry. When I started it, I decided to go in network with insurance companies. And what that means is when you sign up for a policy through your employer, then they are in a group plan. And so that employer gets a deal from the insurance company for having a certain number of clients underneath them. The insurance company also negotiates fees with in-network dentists, which is what I decided to become so that I can accept your insurance policy. So the stuff that you pay a premium for, I wanted to make sure that you get the benefit of that when you come to see me. So I went in-network. So we negotiated a set of fees, and we said, okay, every time you come in, this is how much your insurance company is going to pay the dental office for the care that you receive. And it's pretty standard in the areas that we're in. So it usually goes by zip codes or cities, depending on what the population is, and also depending on how many in-network dentists there are. So when I did that back in 2011, I didn't know any better because I was fresh out of dental school, but I didn't know that you were supposed to negotiate fees and try to get, the best possible rate, because that doesn't mean that your premiums change, but it does mean that the insurance company reimburses the dental office more. So what I came to find out is that there's a whole gamut of insurance companies pay the dentist down the street or in the next city over this much money. They pay us this much money, and the next dentist, they pay this much money. So there's a lot of discrepancy there. So when you're shopping around, even though someone is in network with your dental insurance policy, there might be some discrepancies, some nuances there. So why is dentistry so expensive? Well, let me tell you. It is an insurance game, right? So if you kind of take insurance out of it and you say that everyone's on the same playing field where nobody has dental insurance and we're only talking apples to apples, then dentistry is expensive because the whole setup is really expensive. So if I were to go into a space and try to build even just one dental operatory, so like one treatment room and a dental office, and have just bare bones, somebody answering the phone and doing your insurance, somebody assisting me, and then me, that's it. So bare bones, one room in your office, that alone would take almost $100,000 to build. So it's about $70,000 to $80,000 per room. And that's not even including the dental equipment, the supplies that go into that. So the baseline of just operating a dental office is very expensive. It's funny how if I were to go into Home Depot and buy a roll of plumber's tape, like the white tape that you see, I think it costs 97 cents or something like that. Maybe that's the one thing that hasn't been touched by inflation yet in all these years, but it's very inexpensive. If I were to order that same roll of plumber's tape through my dental supplier, there is a 6 times markup. So it's going to cost me almost $6 to order that same roll. No different. It's branded the exact same. There's nothing special about it for dentistry. They don't do anything special to it. But that's the degree of markup anytime you put something on dental or with the dental word behind it. Another thing that a lot of you have probably heard when you're at the dentist getting a filling done is the word bonding, right? So whenever we use bonding, it's that little liquid that kind of smells like a chemical and we blow it around. That chemical, it comes in little tiny bottles or little tiny pens. And if I were to extrapolate that out and buy a gallon of that little tiny bonding resin, that would cost me over $200,000 for a gallon of that stuff. So that tells you that is like liquid gold when I get it in those little tiny bottles. Now, there are some dental offices that buy in bulk and save cost, but there are a lot of dental offices that also buy the knockoff brands, the cheaper brands, the stuff that hasn't been tested so well. But we don't choose to do that here. We always buy the name brand. We're pretty consistent with what we like. We do things on a scientific basis. So we want something that has the product testing behind it. So that's really important to us. Anytime we order something in, we always research it first. So while we may not be the cheapest dental office, you're going to be guaranteed to have the best quality products in your mouth. Now, one of the most expensive things in dentistry are implants. And there are hundreds of thousands, millions of Americans that are missing at least one tooth or more. And so when they come in and ask, what's my option to replace this tooth? Or I have to get a tooth taken out, it's not savable anymore, and I have to get this tooth out. What are my options? We always go through, take the tooth out, leave the hole, put a bridge in there. And then, of course, an implant. If their bone level quality and quantity qualifies to have an implant, that's sometimes an option. So if you qualify for an implant, it's the best option in dentistry to replace a single missing tooth. But implants are also one of the most expensive things in dentistry. So implants in our office run about $6,000 per implant. And I'm sure that your eyes are getting as wide as mine did when I first heard that. But when you break it down and you actually look at what all the costs are that go into it, there's a few ways to understand the costs, appreciate the costs, and then make it a little bit more affordable in your budget. So the first thing about a dental implant, if you're shopping around for a dental implant and you go to various offices, you will see everything from $1,400 all the way up to $6,000 or $10,000. And what usually the difference is the name brand of the implant. So Dr. Patel here in our office only uses the name brand implants that come with lifetime warranties. So it's something that comes with a tracking number. We actually know every implant that goes into your mouth. We are able to track it. And then if something fails, of course, now if you don't brush your teeth and it fails that way, of course, that's not covered. But if the implant itself, if something goes wrong with it, then that's a coverable expense where those reputable companies will actually pay to have your implant redone. So that's one of the baselines. Another reason our implants are a little bit more expensive are because we do a lot of bone grafting and tissue grafting. And bone grafting, remember I think I said once on an Instagram reel that when you take a tooth out, it's like digging out a post out of the ground, right? So it's important to backfill that hole with a little bit of dirt. And the way that we use dirt in dentistry is to backfill it with bone graft material. And that helps level out your jawbone, keep that height and the width of your jawbone ideal for a future implant. So when we backfill it with dirt, we also want to lay sod over the top, and our sod is PRF. So we take a blood draw on the day of your extraction, we spin that down in our centrifuge, and we make a Band-Aid out of your body's own good stuff. Not every dentist is capable of doing that. There's a lot of medical offices that don't even have the technology to do PRF. And Dr. Patel and I have been doing that for since pre-pandemic, I want to say like probably 8-9 years, we've been in the PRF arena. So not only do you get your tooth out comfortably, we use the bone grafting, we use the PRF grafting, which again is your body's own good stuff, not putting in artificial stuff to create that environment to make that implant as successful as it can possibly be. So you do all of that with the name brand implant. And then Dr. Patel actually custom designs his own connector pieces for implants and the crowns that go on top. If it's in an area that you're going to see when you smile and talk, then he actually hand paints it himself because he wants the best result for you. So when you're considering the cost that implants are through the roof, it is expensive, especially when done in the right hands, but it's going to be a lifelong solution for you. So I want you to think about implants as being an investment for a lifetime. They're 99.7% effective. Really, that wiggle room for not being 100% effective is because of periodontal disease. Periodontal disease is the one thing that ruins an implant. That's what takes an implant out. It makes it not stable in the bone anymore. But if you're good about coming in for your cleanings, if you have good gum health, brushing and flossing, then that implant is literally a lifelong solution, which is exactly what we want. So $6,000 now over the rest of your lifetime, it seems like a few pennies on the dollar kind of thing. So kind of keep it in perspective. It's a lot up front. The way that we try to make it affordable in our office is to break it down into a few different segments. So we have the extraction cost, we have the implant cost, we have the connector piece cost with the actual tooth finished on it. That usually happens over a span of 6 to 8 months, and we spread that cost out. So you're going to be about $2,000, $2,000, $2,000, and that's spread out against almost a year, 6 months to 8 months. So we try to make it affordable for you. So I hope this helps in explaining why stuff in dentistry, especially implants, is so expensive and why it might be worth the investment to find somebody who does it as well as we do. This is Dr. Pedersen and What the Floss?
Floss, 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 floss.